States.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, could I have a roll call, please?
Alderman Bowman.
Present.
Alderman Bachman. Present. Alderman Milner. Absent. Alderman Reese. Alderman Dickerson.
Here.
Alderman Long.
Here.
Alderman Turner.
Present.
Alderman Stafford.
Here.
Mayor Hassig.
Here, we do have a quorum. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we are going to recognize Emergency Medical Service Week, so if you all would please join me up here. So you've got a good crew tonight. All right. I'll go ahead and read the proclamation first. Emergency Medical Service Week, May 15th through the 21st, 2016. Whereas Emergency Medical Service is a vital public service, and whereas the members of Emergency Medical Services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas Emergency Medical Services has grown to fill a gap by providing important out-of-hospital care, including preventative medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine, and whereas the Emergency Medical Service system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, and other out-of-the-hospital medical care providers. And whereas the members of emergency medical service teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of emergency medical service providers by designating Emergency Services Week. Now, therefore, I, Brian Hassig, Mayor of the City of Harrisonville, Missouri, in recognition of this event, do hereby proclaim the week of May 15th through the 21st, 2016 as Emergency Medical Service Week. With the theme EMS Strong, Called to Care, I encourage the residents of Harrisonville to recognize and remember those who selflessly serve, protect, and care for those in our community. So on behalf of myself and the Board of Alderman, I want to thank each one of you, and we are thrilled to recognize this as Emergency Services Week. Sir, would you like to hold the, not jump in the middle?
I tell you what, everybody step out a couple of steps away from the table. Okay, and you guys come forward. 2, 3, and you too, Mr. Mayor. And you two, step right
Try to hide in the
forward.
back.
Everybody else kind of get there in the back, on the second row. But make sure,
You two hold
ladies,
that. There
you
you
can
go.
hold that.
Sorry, Larry.
All right. And let's see, would you come up here and stand on Larry's other side? All right. Yes, we're gonna pose, okay. All right, everybody, nice and cozy, big smile, here we go. 1, 2, 3, and one more time. 1, 2, 3. Thank you
Can I
very
get
much.
one more hold, please?
And
Thank
one more.
you. Put it on Twitter and stuff. Okay, thank you.
All right, how about a nice round of applause for you?
You're gonna be. Get out there.
Great job, guys. Great job.
Okay, we will move on. We have reappointments of Vince Farr to the Board of Building and Engineering Appeals, and Bill Woods and Julie Cooper to the Historic Preservation Commission. Kim, do you have a preference on how we approve this, or just one?
You can do one for all of them, or you can do one for the HPC and one for the Board of Building and Engineering.
Let's do it by board. How about we start with board and engineering, and I'll leave it up to whoever wants to make the motion.
Make a motion.
I have a motion from Alderman Dickerson and a second from Alderman Long. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? As far as approved. Now we will do the appointments for the Historic Preservation Commission.
Make a motion that we approve.
I'll second it.
Motion from Alderman Dickerson, a second from Alderman Bowman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Those are approved. Moving on to public participation. This time I'll open public participation to anyone who has anything to bring before this board that is not on our regularly scheduled agenda. Mr. Cotton?
I always do.
Well, we'll call Jack Cotton time here pretty soon.
I got you down.
How many members does it take to make a quorum for a meeting?
For a board of alderman meeting,
Well, no, you got a meeting scheduled for Thursday night.
for the planning and zoning,
Yes, sir. And
how many is on that, I forget.
I've seen the note on the door of lack of quorum.
I believe we need 5.
I think there's 9.
I think there's 9 members,
I think
which,
there's 9 members.
yeah, I think it's, yeah, I think you're right.
How far out was that posting?
The meeting, it would have been scheduled first,
The planning and zoning is usually the third Thursday of the month.
that one was
So-
first.
So-
it's a known that that's what it's supposed to be.
Typically, it's a.
Typically.
Well, then that's similar to a Board of Alderman. If you're on that board and it's set up for that time, shouldn't that be set aside by those to be there to go over that? Because the people that were on that thing to be approved, you know, they made the trip up here to do that.
Mhm.
And then nobody here to work with them on that.
Right,
So I think if you're going to be on a board and you've been appointed to a board, you know, and you know that that's going to be there, then I think you should make an appointment, chance to be there, just like you folks here on this thing here. If there's a sickness or an illness or something like that.
Well, I would like to also put out there that if they don't have anything for that agenda, you know, it's scheduled for the third Thursday, but there's times when they don't meet at all for maybe 2 or 3 months because
Well, there was,
they don't.
when it came out in the newsletter that you had sent out, it had it on there, the people that's putting in the apartment that's out on Jefferson Parkway.
Mhm.
That was on there.
Okay,
And then my question is, you know, if those people know that they're going to have their, set up for approval and nobody's here, then I think, you know, that's pretty disgraceful that we have a board
Well,
that
and-
doesn't do that.
and we do have 3 vacancies on there, unfortunately.
which we have one that'll be filled, at least one of them, hopefully we'll have all 3 filled at the next meeting. It was in an alternate date, Kim's right, it's typically, if somebody, I mean, for me, I block off the third, I block off love days, but I mean, the third Thursday is typically planning and zoning, so you can mark a calendar. There is the occasion where it needs to be changed for one reason or another on a conflict, and that's the reason you have 9 people and not exactly what you would need, is to make sure you have.
Well, I still can't understand why, if you know that it's there,
Yeah.
why those people that are on that board, you know, don't make an effort to be there. I mean, sure, maybe there was just the one item, but that one item to other people is just as important as a lot of the other stuff, and I think they should be, you know, they should be here.
I agree.
Now then, I have one other question. This has to do with impact fees that our city is going on to, because we've ran out of the 25 houses, if I'm not mistaken, permits that were set up to be worked out on that.
I didn't realize we had ran out of.
I don't think we've run out of
I think
it.
we
Well,
got-
I think what,
I think
there's
we've
two?
used, I think we've used.
There's 2 left. Now, with that same thing going on, why are duplexes set up as 2 instead of 1? Because it's just 1 unit on that thing here. Well, I found out that there's several duplexes that's been built, that 2 of them are used on each one of those.
It's too long.
It's
So it was per dwelling unit, I believe is how they.
There was only one dwelling going on the lot, one permit.
Two dwelling units.
No, it was one building, one permit.
Right, one building, two dwelling units.
Okay, now then, going from that down, I have a question for Mr. Botham. With these impact fees and stuff like that and coming up, for those people that are planning on coming to Harrisonville, being that you do a lot of building in Peculiar, are you gonna be against keeping the impact fees down in our area so that the builders will come here instead of coming to Peculiar? Because with you building up there, and you've been up there for quite a few years, and everything, and if they don't build here, they would have that opportunity to come to Peculiar, right? And I think when it comes to that point, that when it comes time to vote, I feel like that you should abstain from that, because I think it's a conflict of interest for you to be on one board here and building in another city to do it, to get that
Just
done.
Peculiar has impact fees.
Well, I know, but they're nothing like Harrisonville's.
Well, I mean, I'm
Well,
pointing.
I know,
they-
there's an
they have
impact fee, but nothing like Harrisonville's.
Yeah, I mean, and
And
we,
so-
yeah.
But there's those several things like that that, and another thing I found out over the weekend, I was talking about the hospital. I have no idea who the people were that were sitting by me, because when I was talking to another couple. And they made the statement that if the hospital out here doesn't go through this abatement program, that you're anticipating buying it. Yes.
That's the first I've heard
Well, I
that.
know, but I wanted to hear that from you.
No.
But anyway, these people said, well, Mr. Bachman is planning on buying it if it doesn't go through with the company that's got it.
Well,
So,
I've not heard that one before.
well, all right, well, like I say, I wanted to find out from you personally.
I am not interested in buying that.
Okay. But anyway, I think,
If he's gonna do that, he'd wait for the abatement to go in first.
well, it's not for sale then. It's not
Let's not even go down that road.
Oh, I bet
Yes, sir.
it'd be for sale for the right amount of
Huh?
money.
Can I answer your other questions after the meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, no problem.
All
But
right.
anyway, it was something that was bugging me to the fact that, there was a meeting scheduled for these people and everything, and nobody showed up for it and everything, and, I think that's pretty bad that we don't have a group of people that are interested in it enough to be there.
There you go.
Well, it wasn't that they didn't show up, I mean, they contacted us prior, I mean, but somebody was unavailable, and that, I mean, that doesn't mean that they didn't, I mean, it could have been 4 or 5 were
Well, that's what I'm saying,
yeah.
if there's supposed to be 5 people here, out of the 9, there should have been at least 5 of them that would have made that, and here, and if they live here in town, they would have made that trip up here because of, if we're gonna have people coming to our town and builders coming to our town, that's the last thing we wanna do is to tell them, we're not interested in meeting with you.
Yeah, I just, well, like Kim said, normally they meet the 3rd Thursday of the month. Well, last Thursday was actually the 2nd Thursday of the month. So, I mean, it was an odd week, They're rescheduled for this Thursday, so, I mean.
To reschedule?
it's a-
That, yes, it is
So-
on the bulletin
So,
board.
this is the 3rd Thursday, so
Well, like I say,
would
it
imagine
was,
that
it
would
was
be-
on your newsletter when you sent it out.
Right, and if you look behind the agenda or the notice that's posted up there now, the other notice is behind it, where it states that they canceled it.
Well, like I say, there's a lot of us in here that look forward to that, your notice when you send it out on email messages. And we don't, a lot of times we come to the city hall, we don't know what they haven't got a warrant for.
So, anyway, I just wanted to clarify that last week was an odd week for them.
Well,
It wasn't the
like-
normal
like I
3rd
say,
Thursday.
It was scheduled, I seen it on everything, and then I get up here and then I think,
Well,
so,
it's rescheduled for this Thursday.
all righty.
All
Well,
right,
I shall be here.
all right. Is there anyone else who would like to speak tonight? Mr. Flannery, can you please give Kim your name and address before you?
Steve Flannery, 403 South Halls in Harrisonville.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening, Brian. I'm a builder, kind of. I've built some fourplexes in Harrisonville in the past, and these impact fees, I know this, everybody's a broken record on these impact fees, people don't wanna hear that anymore, but, I just wanted to know, let you know how that's gonna affect me. I've got two fourplex lots, and I've been told that it's $2,500 per unit for the impact fees, which is a $10,000 per building. I have to rethink that, whether or not I wanna build that fourplex, because that's just a lot of extra money for the expense of that fourplex. And I may be wrong about this, but I understand other cities have not that, that much cost on the impact fees, so just wanted to express my feelings that,
Where are they, like,
you know,
what- where are you building that it,
metal art,
Metal Art?
yeah. There's two fourplex lots.
So it's new, I mean, it's a
Be
new
new
lot that was not
construction.
built on
Yeah.
before.
Extra 10,000 than I had back in 2004 when I built before. And that's just a lot of money right now, to add to the cost. And I understand the idea of an impact fee and I'm not against an impact fee, but $2,500 per unit on a 3,000 square foot building, $10,000 on a 3,200 square foot building is just a lot of money that, makes me think twice about doing it. And I'd like to go ahead and do it, so.
Okay.
Just, if we work something out that's just a little bit more reasonable, maybe what other towns are doing or something like that, on the low side. Thank you.
Well, we can definitely take a look at them and review, we reviewed some of the others, and it's not off the table. We'll
Okay,
review
and
some of
the
these.
waivers were great.
Yeah.
If you want to extend those out, that might help everybody for a while, and
We may have that discussion as
that
well.
would be great.
so.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
May I follow along with that, if I may? When your impact fees are set up for that amount of money, that's basically set up so that they'll have a sewer tap and a water line tap and stuff like that going into that. Well, when you set that up, yeah, you're gonna have 4 meters at a fourplex, but you've only got one water line coming in, and it's split off from those meters. Because I know of several fourplexes that are built in this town that they have one water line coming through the street to a T there where it tees off to the water meters. Okay, that you're making one tap, but you're setting up the meters.
Well,
And so that would,
part of the fee is also the additional draw on the system from, if it's an area that's been developed before, like we talked about the square when we discussed those fees, if it's an area that already had the services there, it's not really necessarily an additional draw, which is why we changed, like if you have to upsize the meter that for the water, say, you had to put a bigger water meter in because it's not big enough to handle the new business, well, there would be a charge because it's needing a newer meter with bigger flow. But in an area where you don't have any dwellings or you haven't had any dwellings before, you're adding to the system. And so rather than as we add to our system, we have to be able to provide for the additional draw. So it's to spread that out. That way everybody who's been paying is not paying the additional upgrade. And they're supposed to be, I don't know what the set amounts are. I haven't reviewed these yet, but that's the concept behind the impact fees. And like I said, I know other cities have it, other water districts have it. The water districts around us, their impact fees are horrendous, so.
I know too that, and I'll ask Mr. Gibbs this, especially for where Steve here's gonna build, weren't they not taps put in those things for the water crossings? A lot of places when they were built, so that they wouldn't have to tear up the street or anything, there was a water line run across the street, and the gas company did too.
There may be taps there, but it's still, like I said, part of the fee is the additional draw on the system.
Well, I can understand the draw system, but you're gonna get paid through that back from your people that's paying their water bills. But anyway, that's.
We'll have a work session another time for that. Is there anyone else?
But anyway, I just had to
Okay.
disturb people,
Is there anyone else this evening? Seeing no one, I will close public participation and we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. And first we have the minutes from the special meeting of April 6, 2016.
Make a motion to approve
All of them?
Yeah.
All the,
all five.
all five?
Five of them.
Yes. Motion to approve all five by Alderman Dickerson.
I'll second it.
And second from Alderman Long. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Moving on to our agenda items, we have a request by Hayden Gamblin to keep chickens at 2104 Thunderbird Drive.
Mr. Gamblin has given us the information that's needed. He is an FFA, so right now he's asking for 4, but he would like to have more later on because it'll be a project that he'll do every year. So if you have questions.
Want to tell us a little bit about your project?
Yes, sir. It's an SAE project standing for Supervised Agricultural Experience that starts our freshman year of high school. It continues until we graduate as seniors, and it continues on through the summer. And usually they have you breed animals or fix and sell cattle that you're of age. I'm clearly not. And we live in the city limits right behind the high school, so it's hard to breed animals. Chickens are small, so we figured we would go with those and sell the eggs to my neighbors since we live with elderly people and they usually prefer farm-grown eggs to store-bought. We're going to keep them in a portable chicken coop that was be no more than 8 to 12 feet long in my backyard for the next couple of years. And then when I move to go to the Air Force, we'll sell them out and get rid of the chickens.
How many chickens are you talking about, Dave?
Starting out with 4, and Kim told me that the maximum is 6, and I was hoping that that could possibly be moved to a different number so that way I could at least grow over the next 4 years. But if not, I get that.
Yeah, that's a number established by the board, so that if you have to revisit that policy at some point, if you want to consider that.
When it came to that point.
So until that point, this is just the initials, so we
This is to get you started.
It's secret permanent, it's because it's by ordinance, and there's an ordinance for 6, or is it?
I don't recall if it's set up, how we set it up
The
originally.
code is set up to where it's for 6 chickens, that's the maximum.
So it'd be by ordinance set to the code.
If Hayden is to come back and request more, I think that if you were to have his neighbors give their permission, I think then that would be a way around that.
almost like a special use permit works. I mean, that's the way those operate is to, I mean, it's an exception to the.
It'd be an
Kind of the
exception.
same concept. I mean, it's not a permanent thing. It's like he said, it's for.
It's for this project, it's
Right.
for school, it's an FFA
Okay.
project, so.
So we just need, when you reach that point, we would just need to revisit, give us a little heads up that you're getting to that point.
And you would want to talk to your neighbors again and let them send out a letter specifying that they're okay with you having X number of chickens for this project.
Anybody have any questions?
I'll second it.
Got a motion from Alderman Dickerson and a second from Alderman Long to approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You have chickens. Very good. Good luck.
some eggs.
I will too.
All right, moving on. Special event permit for Junk in the Trunk, 2016. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the Board of Alderman. Before you tonight is the annual Junk in the Trunk event permit. It's been held on the square for about 7 years now. We haven't had any problems in years past. They do it May through October. It runs from 4 p.m. till 7 p.m. Like I say, we had no problems in the years past. And they actually had the first one this past weekend, no problems with that. We recommend approval. Entertain any questions?
Any questions tonight? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
I got a motion from Alderman Bowman and a second from Alderman Dickerson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Then is approved. Special event permit for the Farmers Market 2016.
This is the fourth year for this event, real similar to Junk in the Trunk. This is, runs June through October, and they do it every Saturday from 7:30 a.m. till 11:30 a.m. Like I said, we've had no problems with this event either. Recommend it.
Any questions? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
Now a motion from Alderman Turner and a second from Alderman Dickerson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The event is approved. Special event permit for Rollin' in Parks motorcycle ride fundraiser, June 11th, 2016.
Well, this is a first-year event. However, we've had a lot of different motorcycle rides in the past. They've never created a problem. All they're really asking of us is to pick them up at city limits, run an escort through town to a location. I think it's going to change because I think the business they had is.
I wondered about that, if they were
Yeah.
going to change that or not.
Actually, one of my officers is involved in this, so I think they'll have some good control on it. We need to recommend approval. We've never had problems with these in the past, so entertain any questions.
That would have been my only question, was that they were changing their destinations.
I haven't heard.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Motion from Alderman Turner and a second from Alderman Long. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. Moving on to Council Bill 033.
Council Bill 033, a resolution authorizing the city administrator to enter into the attached agreement with Clayton Holdings LLC, an equity subsidiary of Commerce Bank, to finance $845,850 for a period of 5 years to make emergency repairs to the city wastewater treatment plant digester basin floor.
We've discussed this item a few times, and we've been directed to proceed with this. We're coming back with the actual numbers on this. If you recall, earlier we talked about a 10-year amortization on this, and now we're talking about a 5-year. And the other terms are basically the same. The interest rate is a little bit lower, and we would still retain the ability to pay it off sooner if things permitted. But the interest rate that we're looking at is 2.15%, which is pretty good and beats the other alternatives that we were able to look at. This gives us some flexibility since we still haven't bid out our water treatment plant improvements. And although those are different sources of funding, water versus wastewater funding, it all comes out of the same CWSS fund. So this, for purposes of our cash flow, gives us some flexibility to deal with one big project and not put this one on hold. We do need to get these repairs underway and get that digester back in operation. So the staff would recommend approval of this.
Any discussion or questions tonight? Yes, Alderman Walker.
Is this loan because we loaned the money to the 291 TDD and we don't have the money?
Money is fungible. It doesn't care where it comes from or where it goes. We're dealing with this year's budget, and I'm not going to get into what might have happened in the past or might happen in the future. This is just dealing with this project here. I can't say.
Well, Keith Moody stood right there and said we had $10 million, and Stacy Nomber voted for that loan to the TDD because we had $10 million. If we have $10 million, why are we borrowing $800,000?
Alderman, we've, this has to be limited to the CWSS funds, the combined water and sanitary sewer fund, which, as you may have heard, we have some large obligations coming forward this summer on that. We don't know what those are yet because the project hasn't been bid out. As we explained, this is a way, and I think you've got some of that information in the memo, that this is a way to give us some financing flexibility until we see what those other obligations are going to be. We haven't closed on the SRF funding for the water treatment plant. because we haven't got any final bids on that plant yet, but we anticipate that it's going to be several $1 million. So this was not anticipated in any of our capital improvements because it's an existing digester basin that developed a failure that we have to go back in and correct. So it's not a part of our budgeted process 2 years ago, last year, or even this year, because it came up afterwards. We don't have a hindsight thing that applies to this. It's just this project and this way to finance it.
What are the alternatives if this is turned down?
Well, one alternative is to not do the project. Let's see here. We would have, an alternative would be to fund it out of some of our obligated reserves in the water and wastewater fund.
What about a CD? Catching in a CD?
Well, those are reserves that we have.
Well, that
Yeah.
is what you're speaking of now.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, you know. We have reserves in each of our funds, and they're obligated for, first of all, debt service reserves. They're obligated by the covenants of the debt instruments that we've already entered into for the various projects that we've done in the past, mostly on the wastewater side in that fund. You have operating reserves that we've established to, just in the normal course of business, you have to have a couple of months of cash flow in there to, as things come and go, to pay bills with. I think we have a maintenance reserve set up off of at least one of the different
And again,
bond
that's a obligated reserve, and so those monies are not an option, if, for the replacement balances.
The way those obligated reserves set up is if you have to spend them, then you're required to raise your rates to replace them. So, they're available in the case of an emergency, but then you have to raise the rates to put that money back. And what we're trying to do here is kind of hold the line as the board's direction.
So what he's trying to say is if we had gave the money to the 291 project, we would have the money. And then since we've done that, if we don't approve this, we'd have to raise the rates to take it out of the reserve funds. Is that right?
If we took it out of reserve funds, then you'd have to raise rates to replace it, because the reserves are required and obligated to be maintained. As far as the question, if the board had chosen a different path earlier, I'm not getting into that.
Well, I know you're not. That's been your stance for a long time.
And will continue to be.
I understand, Mike.
Okay, any more questions or comments? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to spend $845,000, I guess. It's not my money. It is, but.
Motion from Alderman Long,
Second.
second from Alderman Stafford. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And Council Bill 033 becomes Resolution R019. Council Bill 034.
Council Bill 034, a resolution authorizing and directing the city administrator to include and execute Amendment Number 4 to the Burns and McDonnell Agreement.
Gibbs?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. Working with SRF has been a very interesting process. I've learned quite a bit. I've been in the business for 40 years, and you're still learning that there's a lot of ways to do things, and SRF has been an education. Amendment 4 came about, SRF has indicated that they will need to have certification that the water plant is operating properly 1 year after it goes into operation. So they want a certification from the engineer that the plant is operating according to how it was designed, the operators are trained, and is performing properly. We would have done this more on an informal basis, but they wanted to formalize that City of Harrisonville will have somebody to perform that analysis. And I talked to them about, well, maybe we want to bring in a third party. They said, well, then you need to come up with a formal process to do that. And, you know, this is an expense that will occur in 2018, 2019. And so I didn't know who I'd want to bring in at that point in time, or who to even suggest, but I just wanted to have that opportunity. And they indicated that I needed to have it formalized now before the loan would be, they'd go through the loan process. So the only option for us is to utilize Burns & McDonnell, and that's probably who I would have used regardless, but I thought it'd be nice to have an option. But they indicated that Burns & McDonnell should do the certification. So Amendment 4 is to formalize that in 2018 or early 2019, we'd have Burns & McDonnell certify that the plant is operating properly. That's 1 year after startup of the work. So we're planning on beginning the project hopefully October, November of this year. Operations wouldn't start till a year later, so now we're in 2017. So then it'd be 1 year after start of operations, which would be 2018. And the project's going to take 12 to 15 months to build, so it could be 2019. So it's an expense that we'll have to budget in 2 budget years.
So so what you're saying is Burns & McDonnell's doing the work currently, right?
Yes.
And the state thinks that it's the best idea for the people who are doing the work to later certify that they did a good job.
This is correct.
That sounds about right.
Well, that's why I was.
To start with.
That's why I wanted to, you know, have it as an option, because if we have some issues, I'd certainly like to have a third party come in, and we'll be able to walk through and try and figure out what those issues are. But at the wastewater plant, we did a similar approach 1 year after operation. We did bring Burns & McDonnell in, and we've identified where it wasn't operated according to their design, and we had to modify how the operators were performing their work. And now the plant is operating as designed and is operating more efficiently. So that is is an example of where it did work. And, you know, we hired Burns & McDonnell because of their expertise. They're wanting to provide a facility and a treatment process that's going to meet what they promised. In the interview process, we had one individual from Burns & McDonnell said, "I guarantee it will work." And, you know, that's one of the things we
Had more than one.
well, but we're gonna hold them to it, and they're an international firm, and I have no doubt that it will perform according to what the expectations are.
Well, part of that is like I say, training the staff on how to operate. I mean, you already identified, we had, you know, some minor things to change with the wastewater plant. I mean, they want it to operate appropriately. I mean, that's what like you said, what they promised. Well, if we're not doing something right according to their plan, then they're not really at fault. We need to, you know, they're addressing that, so.
Well, we're gonna make sure that our operators are following the process. And that's number 2 in here, is that they also want to acknowledge that we're gonna have a plan of operation and an operation and maintenance manual, which was included in the design, which was Amendment 3, but it wasn't formally identified saying, you will submit at 50%, you will submit this document. And so SRF has requested that formal recognition be included in Amendment 4. So we've done that. So that will satisfy SRF, but it's also how the operators will start to learn what's necessary to operate the plant. And so we'll start getting them training, so when it becomes time for operation, they know what they're supposed to do. And where we have issues, we'll bring in Burns McDonald to better train them, or send them to training if that's what we need to do.
Why wasn't this in the contract with Burns McDonald when we signed up the contract?
It was in the contract,
It was?
but it was not formally identified. And they wanted at 50% completion of the construction project, they will submit the operation plan. And that at 85%, we'll have a plan in operation, an operation and maintenance manual
Because we surely
developed.
would have known that this was gonna be required of SRF.
Well, they knew that those plans were required by MDNR, and so they included it in their proposal. And I knew it was there, and Jeff, who's the project manager with Burns McDonald, actually submitted a letter saying, we included those items. SRF wanted specifically to have it identified in the agreement. And so the only way to do it.
Agreed to this in the contract.
It's already been agreed, there's no cost to this in Amendment 4. The only cost to Amendment 4 is what this future cost in 2018, 2019 is gonna be to certify the plant operation. That is the only new cost. And the third item, they wanted to formalize what the board in work session on January 18th agreed to do, is to adjust the design fee. We had an increase of $140,850, and what we did is decrease the construction fee, which is now down to just slightly less than $215,000. SRF wanted that formalized. And so Amendment 3, or Amendment 4 includes that item. So we're asking the board to approve Amendment 4. Do you have me to answer any questions, or?
$140,850.
That was what, was
That
it?
includes the 12,934, and what did you say the other was?
Included 12,000.
The what?
The 12,000 is the only thing Amendment 4 includes. What we did is adjusted the design and the construction engineering, so they offset each other. So there's no fee increase. It was an adjustment of the fee that was the 1.298 million that we're paying them. There was an adjustment in the design fee, it went up, the construction fee went down. So there's no change in the
That part
total.
was a wash.
It's a net zero.
Right. The only change to the total overall net contract is the $12,000 that we will incur 2.5 years down the road.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none. Motion from Alderman Turner,
I second.
second from Alderman Reese. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Council Bill 034 becomes Resolution R020. Moving on to Alderman and committee reports. Alderman Bowen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just really want to acknowledge the police and the EMS for Appreciation Week from now through the 21st. And I know some people are taking treats by the fire station and by the police station just to say thank you to our first responders. So I just want to encourage you, if you can do that, I know they would greatly appreciate it.
Very good. Alderman Bachman. Nothing tonight. Alderman Reese.
I just want to say, I'm really proud to be representative of a city who takes into consideration the things like 6 chickens. I think that that's probably one of the nicest things I've seen happen. I know that none of us are especially interested in having chickens in our backyard, but to have a project like that, and for people like us to include that, just thank you, I appreciate it.
Alderman Dickerson.
Nothing.
Alderman Long.
Other than just echoing what Judy said, and Ms. Bowman about the EMT week and all that, that's a pretty neat deal, so very proud of them.
Good.
Other than that, I'm good.
Alderman Turner.
I had fun this last weekend, helping out with junk in the trunk, trying to help people park, get where they're supposed to go, they park where they wanna go.
Yeah.
I just kinda just stand there and watching them. But had a good turnout, since graduation was rescheduled for Saturday, but made a good turnout and look forward for the next ones.
Alderman Stafford.
Well, I was glad that Mr. Flanger was here to talk about impact fees tonight. I think that's something we need to get, we kind of talked about it, but get in and do a little work on. I know I've talked to several of the local bank people and real estate people, and I feel like the last 3 months, the housing market has shifted quickly, and that the lack of inventory we have is going to be getting even smaller because stuff that was sitting on the market is starting to disappear at a much faster pace. So if people are going to be building, we need to be ready for them to build.
Mr. Thorland.
Just a reminder that city offices will be closed on May 30th for Memorial Day. Of course, our first responders will not be.
Is that all you got, tonight?
That's all I got tonight.
All right. Well, I want to thank staff. I took advantage of our first weekend of the citywide cleanup. It amazes me how I have a load every year that I have to haul out there or something. But just remind everybody, next weekend will be the second weekend of that, which is Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Correct? Or the 3 days. They have 2 days. Just Friday and Saturday. Okay. Just Friday and Saturday. So if you have something you need extra large, get rid of, that will be going on. I wanted to compliment our emergency services. There was a rather large fire down the street in Thunderbird, North Alderman Bowman. You probably could see the glow from your house. It was pretty scary. As far as I know, everybody came out unscathed, but the responders were there, took good care of it, took good care of the people there, so we're lucky to have good response on that. I made it up to the junk in the trunk. It was kind of a lighter crowd, but it's kind of what's expected that first weekend and competing with graduation. But that'll get bigger. I encourage everyone to wander out there and see what's available. Impact fees are always something that comes up. I think I mentioned when I ran for office, I wanted to review the majority of the fees that we have across the board, kind of see how we compare. I think it's a good idea to see how you compare with other cities, what you're charging, not just for that, but I mean, we have fees for permits and a variety of things, and I think it's good to review those periodically and see if you are competitive. As a county, we try to, they want to promote a team atmosphere, but yet you're also in competition with your neighboring towns for businesses and housing. So, it's always good to hear from people that are at least getting out and voicing their opinion. I think too many times people sit silently and don't express their opinion and maybe complain to somebody at the local coffee shop or in line at the checkout. Well, this is the place to do that. So I encourage more people to come up and speak their mind. And that's pretty much all I have this evening. Hope everybody has a safe and happy Memorial Day weekend, and we will see you when we come back from that. See, Max has left, so nothing for the newspaper. Nothing else. Mr. Dickerson, if you could, we're going to do for legal tonight, please.
I move that the Board of Alderman go into closed session pursuant to the following sections of the revised state statutes in Missouri. I guess it's this one here. First one?
6-1, no.
It's section 610-021 to discuss legal action and any confidential or privileged communication between the city and its attorney.
All right. Need a second? Second. Second from Alderman Long.
Alderman Bowman? Aye. Alderman Bachman?
Aye.
Alderman Reese?
Aye.
Alderman Milner, absent. Alderman Dickerson?
Aye.
Alderman Long?
Aye.
Alderman Turner?
Aye.
Alderman Stafford?
Aye.
And we are adjourned to executive. Thank you, everyone.